US dollars, half of the combined annual GDP of ASEAN. In the last 12 years, the loss of climate-related catastrophe, economic and human terms, in dollar terms, 1.3 trillion. Combined GDP of ASEAN each year, 2.5 trillion. Bigger than India's, bigger than South Korea, bigger than Australia and New Zealand together, bigger than the UK. People affected, 2.7 billion. Almost half of humanity have been affected by natural catastrophes in various forms. $1.1 million lives lost. It is interesting to note, if you look closely, Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans, in the US, killed fewer people, as big, as devastating as it was, killed fewer people, and cost less. Cyclone Nargis, because we were not prepared, and Sichuan earthquake, too far into the hills. The Chinese were quite prepared, more than us. Together, about 242,000 lives lost. Cyclone Nargis alone, 140,000. And because it is Myanmar, because it is Sichuan, loss of property was less. At the end of these lines, it's 2011 Sendai tsunami, great tsunami, northeast Japan. Look at it. Life loss, including loss not accounted for, about 30,000. Huge, big, damaging, forceful as they were. But the cost, economic cost, was extremely high, 363 billion. This particular chart shows that if you're more prepared, you will save lives. If you're more prepared, you will save as much property as you can. But if you don't do anything, definitely lives, property, people affected will be damaged extremely high. Similar chart. I'm not going to go through it, but you look at it, but give you similar message. Now, what has ASEAN learned from the tsunami of 2004, before I went in, to Cyclone Nargis of 2008, after I went in, to the Java earthquake of 2009, we came up with an agreement among ourselves. ASEAN Agreement on Disaster Management and Emergency Relief. Because we know if we don't do anything next time around, it's going to be much worse. And it is going to come for sure, because we are on that ring of fire of the Pacific. Indonesia is the most affected country. Philippines. With our friends, we set up something called the ASEAN Humanitarian Assistance Center in Jakarta, AHA. We have to act, we have to anticipate, we have to expect the worst. Because 600 million people are at risk. Because all of them live, as I said earlier, less than 150 kilometers from the coastline. Anything happens. Climate change, 10-15 cents of the ocean level rises. Many of us are going to be underwater, including large part of this city of Bangkok. So we have to think rationally, and we set up this thing called AHA Center, based on the agreement on disaster management and relief. I can tell you, the confidence that we have, that we think we are better prepared for the next time. On the 12th of April last year, late afternoon, there was another earthquake deep in the Indian Ocean, southwest of Aceh, where it was totally destroyed in 2004, December, Boxing Day, same time as Phuket and Thailand, 8.6 Richter scale. I was sitting in my office in Jakarta, monitoring how are we going to respond this time. AHA Center is held by the US, it's held by Japan, it's held by Norway, it's held by the Nordic countries, it's held by the World Bank, held by the ADB. We accept all assistance. Just like anything that is happening in this landscape of East Asia is now of high concern to the global community. Why? Because this part of the world has become more important to the world than 5 years ago, than 10 years ago. Because this is where economic dynamism is going on. Because this is expected to be a new locomotive that would pull the global recovery along. So a natural disaster, a catastrophe that would derail this economic dynamism in East Asia, wherever it happens, around the Pacific, particularly Western Pacific, is going to have a tremendous impact on the global community as a whole. While Europe is trying to get out of its own crisis, America is still trying to work out its, what do you call that, shutdown. It has to be here. So, a lot of assistance coming into our AHA Center. I was sitting in that room, and it was extremely gratifying to realize that ASEAN, yes, has learned something. Because this AHA Center could give me exactly the hour and the minutes that that first wave of tsunami was going to hit the first island of Indonesia, off the coast of Sumatra, off the coast of Aceh. Because the world has given us this simulator with this scale of earthquake, with that depth under the water, with this velocity of the wind, with this tide, what month, what time of the month, high tide, low tide, exactly by the minutes that is going to hit that first village on that first island on the east coast, on the west coast of Sumatra. And you could see the Tsunami Watch Center from away, telling the BBC, telling the CNN, telling the ABC in Australia of all the things that they are prepared to respond. And commentators from around the world were on split screen, giving opinions, giving expert advice, giving us warning. Be prepared. Bangkok sent a message. Our Utapao airport is ready, Mr. Secretary General. Open for you. Subang Airport in Kuala Lumpur said, we are ready for you. Your job is to make sure that the landing strip in Aceh is open, that it's not going to be damaged, that we know that the lights are going to be out. It was extremely moving. It was extremely inspiring. The only regret that I had was we didn't get to the point where we had to deliver. Because by 7:30 in the evening, the Indonesian government said, the warning is off. It is not coming. All I can say was, thanks God. But deep in my heart, I'm still carrying that little doubt. What if it came? Could we as a community, caring and sharing with all the goodwill of the people from around the world, could we deliver to our potential victims along the west coast of northern Sumatra? I did not get to see them. But thanks God it did happen. But I'm sure, even if it came, we would have done better than the Java earthquake, than the tsunami in Aceh in 2004, than the tsunami, or than the other catastrophes that we had to face, had to manage, and that was something like Cyclone Nargis. So, ladies and gentlemen, cooperation, coordination, exchanging best practices, trying to organize, anticipate all the problems that would occur if you have to do the delivery. That's the charge of this center. And that's the vision of Mr. Brian Ward, or Colonel Brian Ward, the late Colonel Brian Ward, who was involved in the relief for a long, long time here in the Asia-Pacific region. But at the end of his career, he came up with this common sense. It would have been much, much better to get our people to be prepared, to build our schools so that the schools could be storm shelters, could construct our health stations so that our health station could be safe houses, to build temples and mosques strong enough to be refugee centers for our people in the village, for our people in the district. I think that wisdom is very much now accepted. That's why the UN International Strategy for Disaster Reduction, or UNISDR, has been working hard for the last decade to come up with something like this, called the UN System Task Team of the post-2015 UN Development Agenda, how to deal with disasters. We don't know where they're going to hit. We know they will come. And they are not going to discriminate between the rich and the poor. Those who live high in the society, those who live low in our society. Marginal of our society, center of our cities. No discrimination. The best way forward to survive together is to be